we will create this podcast generating micro SaaS that lets users, for example, I'm gonna copy this Aztec Empire text. For example, I can just copy this. We can copy however much you want, but let's do it like this. I'm gonna generate podcast content here. So it's gonna generate like this whole text based on my prompt that I described, and now I can generate voice. So let me actually delete this because I don't want to generate like so much. We don't want to wait for too long, but it's generating now.
Welcome to our podcast, where we're diving into the fascinating.
And then I can also download. So this is just, it can generate from all of this text, can generate from just like one sentence, like generate podcast about AI research or whatever. Here, user is adding their own API keys. So OpenAI API key for text, for audio generation, and Groq API key for text generation. But if you want to use your own API keys and monetize this, then you can watch some of my other videos where I explain how to connect Stripe, how to connect user accounts, database, and everything. So this is just a quick tutorial for this functionality. Let's start by creating a new folder, podcast generator micro SaaS. Let's enter this, open CMD here, npx, how was it? Create -next -app at latest and dot, so it creates it in this folder. Now if you can go here and say NextJS quick start. Instead of writing this manually, you can just copy it from there and add dot here, but you need to have Node.js. So this is the create next add that we just wrote. So I'm gonna say yes to Typescript, yes to slint, yes. I'm just gonna take everything as default, so just press enter a bunch of times. So let's go to app page tsx and let's delete everything you got here. Let's start coding. So first, we're gonna use client because this will be everything on client. Import use state from React. Import OpenAI from OpenAI. You need to go to terminal and say npm I for install OpenAI, and then press enter. And then you're also gonna Groq -SDK. So when this finishes, you say npm install Groq -SDK and press enter. And you're gonna have these two libraries. Then let's export default function home. Const user input, you set user input to be empty string, and same for podcast content. Okay, then audio URL, it's gonna be string or null, and set it to null. And loading, set loading. So we need to set this audio URL to also to null, not just empty string, because we don't wanna show this audio like component at all if it doesn't exist. We're gonna check if it's null. So if it's null, we're not gonna show it at all. Error, set error is string or null, OpenAI API key and Groq API key. So user will be setting these. Generate podcast text. This is from Groq documentation. So so if you wanna like know how to do this, you go here to like, you just say Groq cloud documentation. You can go here, or API reference. You can just Google this. You can find it here. But basically, this is what we do. I say try. Const Groq is new Groq client, and then 1 brackets, 2 brackets, API key is Groq API key. And then let me explain this. So this would be dangerous if you were using your API key in the server and you were sending it to the client user's client. So the API key exists in user's client, your API key. But since user is inputting their own API key into their own client, I'm pretty sure, unless you somehow code this to steal their API key, there is no like, wait, this is dangerous. So don't code it to steal their API key. Okay, const chat completion. Await Groq chat completions create. So this is from documentation. Messages is gonna be array, and put this comma. This is the first message. Role system. You are podcast generating AI. Generate 10-minute podcast. So when this is read aloud, this text, it should be around 10 minutes. So no special instructions, no square brackets. Everything you generate will be read. So you can read this prompt better. then comma and second user role, and content will be user input. So whatever user inputs in the text field, text area. Below that, model Llama 3 8B. You can use 3.1 8B versatile. I think I'm not sure what it's called, but you can check the models on Groq.com. I think somewhere here. You can just Google it or check on Groq.com. Max tokens. I just put it maximum here, 8,000, and no need to stream. Set podcast content. So when this finishes, when they generate, we're gonna set the generation as podcast content, and we're gonna get the generation like this. This is the generation, or empty string. Okay, catch error, console log error, and finally set loading false. So we're gonna use loading to disable buttons, so user cannot like send billion requests. If they send one, they need to wait. Generate audio. Set loading, set error null, set audio URL to this, because you need to set this audio URL here to empty string, because if you don't, then when you generate a new audio and you just set this audio URL to the new audio URL, for some reason it will not change on the UI like to the new like audio blob. So I don't know why, but so we need to reset it here first. They say like remove the previous one here. Try. Let's create OpenAI clients. As I explained, I don't think this is dangerous at all, because you are not exposing your API key from your server to their client. API audio speech create. So model, I think there is a better model, maybe, I don't know, I'm not sure, I forgot. You can check the in docs, but this is also good as well. Voice alloy, you can check in docs maybe different voices. Podcast content is the input, and then you're gonna get a buffer is equal to buffer from await mp3.array buffer. Array buffer is array of bytes, and you wanna extract that array of bytes into this variable, and then you wanna convert that array of bytes buffer into a blob. So the difference here is buffer is mainly used, I think it's in Node.js, like a server backend, and blob is the same thing, like same array of bytes, but it's for like browser, the client. So I think that's like what ChatGPT explained to me. So that's how you want to do this. Create a blob, and then create a URL from this, create object URL from this blob, and set audio URL to this URL. Okay, next, let's catch the error and do the finally, and then return. So we're programming UI. I put some class names here, some title, podcast generator, and text to speech. Should just be podcast generator probably. Input type password. So this is for the API key. Value OpenAI API key, and set OpenAI API key to eTarget value. So this is how you make this field. How to connect it. I think how to make it stateful. It's the terminology. The term is like stateful field. Okay, and placeholder class names, like this is Tailwind CSS. Do the same for the other one, Groq API key. Text area, this is user input, and connect it to the user input. Placeholder, and then for rows, this is going to be text area for user input. So let me show you. It's right here, this text area. Generate podcast text. This is this button now, blue one. Disabled if it's loading, or no API key, or no Groq key, or user input doesn't exist. So if it's empty, this should be disabled. Now, okay, well, maybe it's an empty string now. So, anyways, generate podcast content, or so if the button is loading, it's gonna be generating or generate podcast content. So when you click here, generate is gonna change if it's loading. Okay, so if podcast content exists, then we're gonna show something. Text area, value, and then set podcast content. So this is this text area. Now this was not shown when I just loaded the page, because this contact did not exist. So now if it exists, then we're gonna show it. Class names rows 10, and then button below, on click generate audio. So generate audio from this text. Class names, okay, disabled on these conditions. Also the loading text. So if there is an error, we're gonna display this error in red text below. And then if audio URL exists, now we're doing this little thing here.
You know, there's something both.
Yeah. And then we're gonna display this div, audio controls. I don't know what this is. You can ask ChatGPT. I have no idea. Okay, source, audio URL, type audio MPEG. Your browser does not support. If this, I'm guessing like if this is not shown. So now this is to download. So this is href will be this audio URL download. This is the name and then class name and download audio button, and that's it. That's it. No other changes. So this is what we have. So if I just, well, I think that's it. So let's see how we can deploy this. Now let's publish this. So let's go to github.com/your username. Here click on repositories and create a new repository. I named it Podcast Generation Micro SaaS. You can find this repository below in the description, public. I'm gonna add MIT license so you can use it however you want, and create repository. So now I wanna copy this URL and let's ask ChatGPT how to push our local code here. I just don't know all the commands always. So I said I made a new repository with MIT license. How do I pull it to my local code and merge and push everything to GitHub? No cloning, because my local code already exists. I need to pull or something. So I'm gonna use this git remote add origin and then your GitHub URL. So let me paste it here and let me add this URL. So I'm gonna go now back to this URL path and then add this. Okay. Next thing I'm gonna pull, yeah, and then allow unrelated histories, because yeah, I think we pulled license, yeah. I'm gonna now git add dot, so I add everything, but let me just check if we have license here, yeah. And also this library, I don't think it's useful, but I'll leave it here for now. And then git commit should be initial commit git push -u origin main, but I think we didn't make, yeah. Okay, so this is main, but I think mine is on master. So let me copy this error. I think my local repo is master, but GitHub is main. So how do I rename it? Like this. So let me do this, okay. Then I can do this. Okay, now it's up here. So if I refresh this, we have all of the code here. And then I want to go to Vercel to deploy this and add new project. Now before we click import, let's go back. Let's see, there is no like red underlines, so this should all work. You can go here and say, well, first you can interrupt this execution, and then you can say npm run build, just to check if there are any errors, because it's gonna be faster, especially if you have a faster PC, than checking like here from Vercel. But because this doesn't have any errors, let me go here, import, and then just click deploy. So you're gonna have to make an account at Vercel if you don't have it, but let's wait for a few moments. And it says congratulations, it's deployed, because it worked the first time. Because so let's how do I get to this? Maybe I click here. Yeah, so now let's add my OpenAI API key. Don't worry, I'm gonna delete this, guys. Don't worry, I get 1,000 comments like, oh, delete your API keys. Don't worry. and then Groq, let's say bugs now should work, okay. And then let me delete everything. Let me just generate this quick voice.
Hey there, folks. Welcome to today's episode of...
Yeah, that's it. Download if I want. So that's it. This works. Thank you for watching. Comment below. Give me some ideas. I'm making these podcasts hopefully, or sorry, these SaaS, micro SaaS projects hopefully every day. And they're going to improve with time as I become better and quicker at making them. And as AI becomes better at coding them as well. So see you in the next video.